welcome back to another episode. I don't feel like I've recorded anything for such a long time, and to get back into the swing of things again, I don't think there could be a better guest. This is Josh. Josh, you've been, I suppose we've been kind of chatting for a good 6, 7 months now, maybe a bit longer. Um,
Yeah,
top guy. I love connecting with you. You just bring a different insight into particularly primary tuition on an international stage. So I'm really excited to share that with people. But before we get into anything, just give us an introduction. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Josh.
yeah. I'd just like to say thank you so much for having me as well. And I, I, I was a member of Richard's course, and I thought it was very beneficial to me as well, just to reach out
Thank
to
you.
other tutors. So my name's Joshua Howarth. I am the director or CEO, I like to call myself sometimes, of Teachwise Tutoring. It's an international company, really, and I deal with just international students, mainly from China, mainly from Thailand. Predominantly working with primary age students. I've also got senior school students as well. And I've just started to outsource some of the content and branch out a little bit more and start to hire other tutors as well. So we've got a maths tutor, we've got a science tutor, we've got a humanities tutor as well. And that's just how it's developed over
Mm.
a very short period of time since I moved back to the UK since August of last year.
So the next logical question is to say, how long have you been in business for? And you said about moving back. So where did you go? What did you do?
I'll start there, shall I?
Yeah.
So I was teaching I've been teaching for 13 years now. I actually taught at my old primary school, which was very strange. I went into the interview. Sorry, I went into the interview, and the dinner lady said to me, "Josh, is that you?" And I thought, this is really strange that a dinner lady still remembered me. And I worked there, and I took the job and accepted it, and I loved it. I loved working in that school and felt really like a sense of community. So I worked there for 5 years, and I've always had an urge to go and branch out and go abroad and travel. And then I was in a relationship, and we finished that relationship in April, which was very late to apply for an international post. And I submitted an application for an agency, and they called me and mentioned that Dulwich College would like to interview me. It's a really big school, a really big deal. They don't know how I've got this interview, but somebody has mentioned that they don't want to go to China anymore. I was very happy to take the interview. After looking at the school, uh, my school was 100 kids, and this school was 1,500. So it was a huge step up for me to go to this school and to go to China by myself. And yeah, and it's just from there, I've gone from working in a state school in the UK to branching out to private school education. And it really opened my eyes to what education can be and what it can look like for children. And it was amazing. It was amazing working with some of the best teachers that I've ever seen, working in a school, learning as much as I possibly could. The access for education for the children, everybody had an iPad. So, just the flow of the lessons was very easy. Class sizes were 20 children as well. So, yeah, it was a great experience and an amazing school to work in. And then after Beijing, I worked in Thailand at another great school, another private school as well. And then I had a child, and we decided that the best thing for us to do was to move back to the UK. Yeah, so that's my story with teaching and going abroad, and then coming back to the UK.
What, obviously driven by the fact that you had a child, and then what, coming back, moving closer to family, doing that kind of important as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
I think for us, working in Bangkok was very busy. It's great for kids if they're older, I would say,
Okay.
10 or above. But for young children, it wasn't the right place for us at the time. And we came back to the UK. My wife's American, and for her, it's a new country as well for her. And she
Oh, wow.
loves the UK, and she loves the greenery and the
Yeah.
outdoorsy nature of it. And we just decided the summer before, yeah, we're going to move back to the UK and we'll give it a go.
Was this the driving like element of starting the business? Because most of us, oh, well, I would imagine you had a lot of decisions to make anyway, because obviously moving back was a big decision. Did you, at first, was it right? I'll just go back to the UK, get a teaching job, or was it always in your mind, like, do you know what? If I do this, I'm gonna start up my own business. What
Yeah,
was your?
I think I've always had that drive. I've always had that ambition to start my own business, and that really comes from my parents and their drive and their ambition. So originally, I was going to come back to the UK and help my mum out with her business. She owns a nursery, and yeah, that was the plan. The plan was that myself and my wife would move back and we would help out with their business, and I was really excited about the prospect. But before that, around April time, I've been doing a little bit of one-to-one tutoring anyway while I've been abroad.
Yeah.
And with online learning, I feel like I kind of had a step up straight away because I was in China and COVID happened and we switched to online learning. I think we were probably the first school, or we must have been one of the first schools to actually bring in online learning and start lessons as like an online school. And it wasn't like it was here in the UK. A lot of my friends will say, oh, like they've sent worksheets home and, they're not doing online meetings. And it's a little bit different because here in the UK, a lot of people don't have access to, everybody's got an iPad in the house. So it's much easier to do online learning while you're abroad as well. Um, so I was teaching online for around 2 years before moving back to the UK because of COVID.
Mm.
So I was very much used to teaching lessons exactly how I would do in the classroom. And actually, I found that the pace of the learning was much faster doing it online because I could switch with tabs. I can start a game or, try and make it as interactive as possible. And as I was thinking about moving back to the UK, I thought, why don't I just have a go at online tutoring and see how it works? And I spoke to a couple of friends while I was there and suggested, oh, I'm going to do online tutoring. Would you be interested? And I had one tutee at the start in August, and my wife and I built the website. I promoted it as much as I possibly can. I was working really hard to try and make it work. And yeah, I had one student, and my wife said to me, you need to go into school and you need to do supply teaching because obviously there's not a huge need for it. And then things started to turn, and I don't know if it was the universe or just things happening for a reason. I
Mm.
started to get more tutees, and a lot of parents were reaching out to me. Oh, we've heard you're tutoring so and so. Do you teach English? Yeah, of course I can help out, of course. And then after that, it's kind of snowballed into what it is now. And yeah, I think for me, it's more about the work ethic and trying to stay motivated and working really, really hard to get to where I am. And yeah, that's working from 6 until 10, 7 days a week,
Wow.
non-stop.
Wow. I mean, we spoke about this before we press record, and it's such an important message that I think you share, and it's something which I share as well. And look, I'm building a business on the back that I think people can build their dream businesses in any way that they want, but there is always going to be a period of time where you've got to put the work in and do the hard yards. If you don't do the hard yards now, you're going to never get to the point where you can remove yourself from the business or use it as an asset and sell it on. Or if you don't want to do that, just stay as the CEO, but you direct the business. You're not teaching anymore. And then but I do wonder with work ethic, it's something which I've been pondering a lot recently. Like, even if you were to remove yourself, you probably would still find something else to do anyway. I think it's just within
Yeah,
us.
yeah, definitely.
So
And I think,
sorry,
sorry,
Josh. So just want to go back to this like crazy working ethic that you have. I use the word crazy. I don't know. I think there'll be lots of people who are working similar. I don't know. Maybe you would be the top of that list of working hours every week, but maybe people are putting in, real long hours, trying their hardest to grow, and they're not seeing the results yet. Like, your results came quite quickly. I mean, even though there were naysayers in the background, like, this isn't working, you've only got one student, like, within a relatively quick amount of time, you've still got to a point where you've gone, actually, this is going to work and I can grow. We think when did you start the business?
last August. Yeah.
August. So we've not
So
even got
yeah.
a full year yet. And you've got tutors working for you. I know you're still working like hard and making sure that that income is coming in and the business is growing. What do you think, if we put the work ethic aside, which I still think probably accounts to 80% of your success, because I
Mm.
think that's what happens when you put that amount of effort in. What else could you attribute that success to, that quite quick success to?
I think the teaching and learning, that's obviously the most important thing
Yeah.
about any tutoring company, really, is
Mm.
what do you do? What can you offer? Why should we go to your company? What's the difference? And I think for me, I've kind of built my business off on being a very personal approach to learning. A lot of my students are obviously ESL learners. It's obviously their second English is their second language, and for me, I found that making it more personal to them, as in I've got a student in China who loves basketball. That's all he loves to do. That's all they'll talk about to me. And my lessons are based on basketball, a lot of the lessons.
Mm.
So creating diary entries for LeBron James, making information texts about sneakers that is made. And it's that for me, it takes so much time to plan and prepare those lessons. A lot of people don't understand that you can't just rock up to a lesson and just turn your computer on and teach it. There's hours and hours of planning and preparing for me, definitely, to make sure that the time that I have with that student is very precious. And I want them to have, to get the best results. And I'm very happy to put in an hour of planning or 2 hours sometimes of planning in order for that flow of that lesson to be successful and for them to learn. And that to me, that is the most vital thing in tutoring or teaching is what are your children learning? What have they learned?
With when I think any service business you need to really focus on the value you provide, and I think with tuition, like the transformation, and it doesn't have to be a quick transformation either. I mean, if you can do it quickly, great. But like let's take your lad from China who is obsessed with basketball. Like, I'm going to imagine his engagement level with you is through the roof, and parents can see, oh my god, this our lad's doing this, and this.
Yeah,
Whereas actually we're used to him not doing anything near that amount.
yeah,
And then what happens is people talk and go, well, here this is going on, and these people go out and they become your champions. They spread your service, and it grows like that. So I totally agree with this. If you focus on the value that you provide, that will outperform any paid ad, that will outperform any organic reach. Your word of mouth is still how you will grow. What I love, and this is what I was excited about, is that this is international market. So it proves to people that it doesn't just work in the UK, it also works all around the globe.
oh yeah, definitely. I would say that 99% of my tu tuition business is built on word of mouth. I've done Facebook ads. I've done a lot of promoting on social media. I've done courses on social media and how to promote a business as well. But I just don't. I think the best way is word of mouth. And
Mm.
I think if you are a good tutor, if you know what you're doing, parents will recommend you to other parents. And yeah, like you've said already, that parent actually recommended me to another parent, and then that parent recommended me to other
Mm.
parents, and it's kind of just built on that in the sense of if you are doing your job really well, then yeah, they will recommend you to other parents.
The other key thing I think I'd like you to share, because this is still new, this is new to me. So actually, I'm asking this for my own sake, and I know others will
Are you
benefit from
trying to
this.
get some tips before you go to China?
Absolutely, absolutely, shamelessly so. But it's the primary market, the primary school that um, I get asked a lot, and particularly I saw last week Jane Dillon ran a challenge for helping
Yeah,
people find international students, and the question that came up quite a bit was, look, I'm a primary school teacher. Is this something even that even does this even relate to me? Is this something that I can do? Because lots of people, and me included, would love to be able to find more daytime hours in for
yeah,
tuition, because it just makes sense. Right? I mean, I'm lucky. I've got a second business that runs and actually does relatively okay, and it takes up a lot of my time. But I know I could attract more tutors into the business if I could go, yeah, you've got like a few hours a week here, and you can come and work an evening a week, but you've got a few hours that keeps you ticking over and might help them drop down to be a part-time teacher, or maybe they're already a part-time teacher, but it means they can just go fully in on something else. How viable is the primary tuition market on the international market? What's it like?
I would say it's very viable. There is a lot of interest for primary students, what looking for tutors. I think that a lot of that comes down to the parents and knowing that you're building a foundation. A lot of people say as well that if you're a senior school teacher, you can charge more because you're more important. You've got wider knowledge. But actually, I do think that early years and primary tuition is so important. And I spoke to a parent very recently. She's wonderful. She's a writer as well, and she's actually really helped me with my business too. And she's out in Thailand. And she spoke to me about her daughter, and I tutor her obviously. And she mentioned that a lot of the parents will wait, they'll wait, but for her, it's more important to do it now to catch anything that, any missing gaps in her learning development.
Makes sense.
And yeah, to me, it does make complete sense. And she came back to me and she mentioned about her child getting crazily high map scores this year. And she's very intelligent. Uh, Her daughter is very, very intelligent. She's a great writer. I love working with her. And yeah, I think for me, it is vitally important that pupils in primary and possibly early years are, that they're working on their learning and they're trying to plug those gaps if they do need the help and more confidence building more than anything.
Mm. So it's viable. It's something that any of us could do with our skill set. We don't need to devalue ourselves by going, oh, I'm only a primary school teacher. I'm only going to offer primary. Actually, we are like, I totally agree with the early intervention. You catch it early and you change an educational pathway and the knowledge compounds over time into something massive by the time they get to, well, I suppose sort of senior school time. And there's huge value in that, huge
Yeah,
value.
I think it's knowing your own worth as well. That's also super important, as in the sense
Yeah.
of if you've got over 10 years experience and you've taught in primary school and you know that you're a great teacher, then yeah, you have the self-belief that you can provide that service and you know that you can get results.
How would you go about finding let's say it's me. I've never reached an international client. It's not something I've ever tried to do, but I'd like to start. And my specialism is primary school. Where would I begin? Where would be the best place for me to start?
For me, I kind of feel like I've already made a few connections by working abroad. So I've kind of got those connections. So a lot of people look at me and go, "Oh, well, he's worked in China, he's worked in Thailand." Well, actually, I've had a few of my contacts are from the schools that I've worked in, but they didn't sign up straight away. They weren't my first clients, and I actually enrolled on Jane's course as well. I did your course and Jane's course at the same time, as
Yeah,
well
you
as
were really
teaching full time.
glutton for
So
punishment, mate. For
yeah,
about
I
three
do.
months,
I
wasn't it?
really enjoyed that. And my wife would be saying, "Why are you up at 9:30 at night having a meeting?" Again, like twice a week. You're crazy. But
Bless you.
and they were very intense courses. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot about, LinkedIn, networking.
Mm,
And I think once you get one client and you are working really hard to try and provide a service that is excellent, eventually that will then snowball into other things. And that
mm,
to me, that is the key to a lot of it is do what you're doing well and the rest will fall into place. There's no point in trying to chase and chase and chase because sometimes that could actually have a negative effect
mm,
on your own progression and what you want to do.
mm. Okay, it's a really good insight. It's that once you've found that one agent that's gonna sort of link you in,
Yeah.
um, you then go hell to leather to make sure it's gonna work. You put that time and effort in.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own company, but I
Yeah.
also work with agents as well.
Yeah.
It's very different. You
Mm,
don't have as much involvement. You teach your lessons and you don't have to give like full summary reports and the planning's a little bit different. So yeah, I think I would definitely say if you've got your own company as well and you're tutoring online, it's worth having being in making connections with agents.
mm,
That's also very important. You can't just do it all by yourself. You've got to have some sort of connections and know other people within the industry
yeah.
in case, you have got a free space and you can take
Mm.
other children on as well.
This is slightly an aside, but because we're talking about agents and agencies, I believe that they get demonized. So a lot of people are, oh, I don't want to work for an agency because they take a cut and they do this and they don't pay well. I think good agencies do pay well. I do genuinely believe that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
they will take a cut, but they take the risk and put the investment in, or have already done a lot of the hard yards that we were talking about earlier.
yeah,
And like when you factor in how much it costs to find a contract, to resource, to even find tutors, all these things cost money. And I know there are other business costs as well, like to take a cut, that I'm actually going to do a bit of work around this with somebody else who's been running an agency for a number of years, and we're going to sort of demystify the whole thing and actually make it feel more comfortable that it is a route into tuition as well. Like you don't have to go, right, I'm going to start a business, and then you get one student for 3 months and you go, no, that business is not viable. It's like, that's not true. Go and see yourself as a freelance tutor and grow your business, but go and find the work necessary so that you can either be a part-time teacher or leave, and just find a way to make it work. I think sometimes we put barriers in the way and we go, no, I don't want to give someone 20% of that, not realizing that they're doing all the work and finding all your clients, and you don't have to chat on a Facebook group where nobody's there, or put posts out on your Facebook page which nobody's seeing, and thinking, oh, this is rubbish, it's not working. All that stuff will happen in good time, but take care of yourself financially first and don't worry about the other stuff.
yeah. I totally agree. And obviously, I'm kind of an agency now myself as
Mm,
well. In the sense that I look for tutors, I get clients, and straight away you lose 20% because you're paying taxes. So that you've got to factor that in straight
yeah.
away. And then, all the effort and work and time you put in to talk to parents and get clients. Yeah, it is
it does take time. It takes time to build it, and
It does.
you cannot expect that agent to not take anything from it.
Mm,
You know, they have to, because
mm,
how else would their business even work? It wouldn't be
yeah.
a viable business if they just, said, "Oh, whatever the parent is paying, then we will pay you exactly the same." So yeah,
Well, I've had conversations with people who started agencies, and they were like, "Well, what we do is we pay X amount, and then we just take just for this is I'm changing the numbers here, and it was at scale still, so there was still economies of scale in play. There was a number of tutors working. They basically, I think, tutors charged their own rate, and then they took like say close to £5 every session. They were making no money, and they were like, "Rich, we're not making any money." And I was like, well, "Yeah, because like you're just seeing the £5 as £5, whereas now go back in and do an audit on what you're paying to find clients, what you're paying to run your ads, what you're paying to tax, and any other business expenses that we're not even thinking about just on the top of our head. Like your £5 isn't £5, it's more likely to be £1.50, £2. And even
yeah,
at scale, that is not enough. Like, it's
yeah,
not enough. You're gonna go. You're gonna one work, work, and work. There's never gonna be an out anywhere. And I'm not saying that there aren't rogue agencies out there who are taking a ridiculous cut, because I know there are. I know that.
yeah. I think tutoring, especially online tutoring, is it's a bit of a wild, wild west in a way.
Mm,
Because you don't to be a tutor, you don't have to be a qualified teacher,
mm,
and that is scary.
mm,
To me, that is a scary thought. That I mean, you can get amazing Hilters, you can get amazing assistant teachers as well. There's tutors out there who have just finished their GCSEs. There's tutors out there who have
yeah,
just finished their A levels and they're doing it for £10 an hour.
yeah,
How can anybody who's been in a profession for 12, 13, 20 years, some people, how can they possibly compete with someone who's charging £10 an hour? Well, it's not viable. You can't do that. And parents they will understand that you're not going to get the same outcome. You're not going to get the same service as you would with somebody who has that experience, who has got all that experience of working in schools and international schools or wherever you've worked. And yeah, it's a weird place, the tutoring world, in
I'll,
that sense.
I'll share something which we talk about in the course. We do something that's changed, Josh. I think since you did it, we do 2 days sales training. Well, 2 days. It's not. It's 2 hours really. 2 sessions.
Yeah.
And in there we talk about answering objections, because one of the objections we're always going to get is price, right? Someone's always going to object to it, not all the time, but it's something that's going to come up, so we need to have a response. And so a little snippet into that sales training is answering it in a way where you put it back on them, back on the parent to decide. It's like, well, look, you're a diligent parent. You're looking for tuition. You obviously care a lot about your child's education. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to be the cheapest tutor you talk to, because you should be chatting to two, three. But what I can guarantee you is that I get results. Yeah, it might cost you an X amount more an hour, but you're going to have no worries. Now, obviously, coming out of script, that is then followed up with some sort of thing about guarantees. I just don't think you can offer guarantees. You never know. But I'm going to be
No.
able to make a difference to that child or young person's education. That's for sure, because I've got the experience and I've got the evidence to show that. So when you start having conversations like that with parents, it makes them go, "Oh yeah, I do value this. And if I'm up for spending £30 an hour, why wouldn't I go to £40 to make sure it gives my child the best chance?" Or £50 an hour or £60, depending on your ideal client and what you would usually charge. And then the other thing is, again, I'm probably giving away too much, but I'm going to do it anyway. Is the whole, like, how is price the biggest consideration? is the cost of the tuition your biggest consideration when finding a tutor? Because if that answers a yes, you duck out. Most
Yeah.
tutors need to go, I don't really work like this. There are A-level students who'll do this for £10 an hour, but you're going to get £10 an hour value.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And yeah, I remember having a meeting with a parent, and they said, "Oh, would you do it for X price?" And I said, "Well, no, because I've got this.
Mm,
And you shouldn't really have to try to explain yourself on, why you charge a
no.
fee or whatever it is. But I'm very happy to recommend other tutors to parents if
Yeah.
they're, if it's that's their budget, then that's their budget. That's absolutely fine. I can more than happily find, tutors that are willing to work for that price.
Do you know what,
But
Josh? There was
are you
something
going to get that service?
there was something I saw last week which made me giggle, but also is really like an important point. There was an advert for, this is completely outside of tuition, but there's an advert for a welder, and it was like the price range was something like $40 an hour to $200 an hour, and the guy turned up with two pieces of sheet material, metal sheet material. And the guy was like, "Well, what's this?" He's, well, this is what you're going to get for $40 an hour if you pay me this, and this is what you're going to get if it's $200. You choose. But
Yeah,
you're paying for
yeah,
the quality of the workmanship and the experience and things. And I thought that was quite an interesting sort of take on it.
yeah. I always compare it to, something like that where if at the end of the day you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
If you want to buy a car that's, it runs, it gets you from A to B, all right, that's fine. But if you want to invest a little bit more and get a car that never breaks down and it gets
yeah.
you to everywhere you want to
Yeah.
go, then that's up to you. That's up to the parents to decide on whether they want that or not.
And I think that's the caveat to all of this. Like everything has a space. Like, so however you're positioning it is absolutely fine. And you'll
Yeah.
have your own objections to overcome. Like, for example, like in the home ed market, I know there's like Amy Hastings who does the £2 tuition hub or the £2 hub. That sits perfectly in that space. And I see people that do, and also often this often gets demonized as well, like people doing like £5 sessions for home editors during the day. Like, I get it, because you only need to get 4 or 5 in there, and £25 an hour for daytime, if you're in the home ed market, is not bad, right? It's better than sitting there and not doing anything at all
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that time.
definitely. Yeah.
So it's like it's coming at it from what's right for your business. So I'm certainly not demonizing people's pricing. I do think we undervalue ourselves as a whole in
Yeah,
the tuition market,
it's
but
very difficult to know. It's very
yeah,
difficult to know what your pricing is. And that when you're on your when I was on your course, Richard, that was something that came up quite often is
yeah,
what do you actually charge per hour? Like how much do you actually charge? And
yeah,
going as well, like going into groups, and prices can change when you offer small groups like we do, and I offer small groups as well, and one-to-one. And yeah, the prices can vary depending on the service that you provide and what you can offer your students.
Josh, this has been absolutely fascinating. I know there's lots of nuggets here. There's something about the work ethic I want to go back to, and we spoke before about um, using other people's experience and influence. And so your work ethic is almost second to none. It's not very often I meet people who do longer hours than me. You definitely do, right? Definitely do. Where do you think that work ethic comes from?
I would say my parents definitely, especially my mum.
Mm.
I know that you've often spoken about your mum and her
Mm.
influence on you, but to me, she is a driving force. She is a beast. She doesn't stop. She's relentless.
Can we
And
just? I just want to put that you're not calling your mum a beast, right?
no,
Yeah,
she's not a beast. She's a beast of the business world, I
yeah,
would say.
sure.
Um, she started out with, she came up from a council estate, and she wanted the best for me and my brother, and she worked so hard to get there. They had a cafe which turned into a nursery, and they flipped that overnight, and everyone's looking at her thinking, how are you going to run a nursery when you don't have any experience of child education? And I spoke to her a little bit about what I would implement and things like that. And yeah, she's got 100 kids in the nursery
Wow.
now. She knows so much about early years, and Yeah, she's just a really, really inspirational person to me because of that work ethic and because of how much she does. And even now, she's ready to retire. Her idea was that, well, when you come back to the UK, Josh, you can take over my nursery. And for most people, they would just say, I can't wait. That's awesome. I'm going to take over and, I can help my mom. But for me, I kind of wanted to do my own thing. I kind of wanted to build my own business and to see if I could actually do it myself. And I think my mom and even my wife probably doubted if it was actually possible, if it was a viable business. And my wife will often say to me, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're like, I'm up at 6 every day responding to parents because the time difference is that, it's their afternoon and they're asking me about lessons. So straight away, it's quite an unhealthy thing to have, is to wake up, jump on your phone and start your day like that. Whereas now I've come to realize that, okay, I can do that, but I'm going to go to the gym in the morning. That's the first thing I do is I go to the gym. I'll take my phone with me and I respond to all the clients as much as I possibly can in the gym. And it's trying to build that healthier work-life balance. And for the first 6 months of the business, I did not have that at all. I didn't have a healthy work-life balance, but I think that was mainly my own doing and my own drive and my own ambition to
Mm.
to learn, to learn as much as I possibly could, building websites, using AI in education, social media, doing your course, doing Jane's course, doing so many courses, just trying to get as much knowledge as I can to run the business as successfully. And to me, that's the most important thing is your first year is trying to establish yourself as a tutoring company and making sure that what you offer is unique and it's special and it's different from other tutoring companies as well. But I do think that, yeah, I do work hard. And my wife will often say, I work harder because I've got the toddler at home. I've got my son at home. And, it is being a stay-at-home mum is also
Oh,
probably the toughest job in the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, the balance when you're trying to do what you do and you've got a young child and balancing even having a relationship, right? And that's not something that is something on my wish list to talk about because it's not easy. And I
No,
think at any stage of the business, because I think in the early stages, it's hard because you don't have the security yet. Like whether it's the financial security or the trust in your business that these systems and processes are going to continue to work. But even once you get to the financial security part and you understand and you trust the systems and processes, like the problems flip because you go, like, for example, like with your wife and your child, it's like, actually, we're doing this so we can have more time to spend with our family. And then you end
yeah.
up well, this is one thing we said off camera, is like that work ethic, it takes over and you want to go to the next bit and do the next thing and get involved in the next project because that's what's inside of us. Is that what you've seen and you take from your mum?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And also getting inspiration off other people. I think listening to podcasts is really important, listening to Diary of CEO,
Mm,
just trying to retain as much knowledge as possible. And I was listening to your podcast and, when you did the Pit Pony 1, Pit Pony 2,
mm,
that actually really inspired me to go, you know what? I'm going to crack on with it. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to
mm,
try and do the best that I possibly can. And yeah, it's just all those things really. If I'm not doing something on my laptop, I'll be listening to a podcast or I'll be journaling or I'll be writing ideas down that I want to do next. And yeah, I don't know if you're born with that or not. I have no idea. But I do think there is some inner drive to try and want to achieve something. And visually, I have for my businesses, I want it to be, a big business. That's what I've always wanted. And I think by having the work ethic and the drive to try and push it forward, that will be the most important factor. But it's trying to replicate that with other people that you're bringing into your business as well. I think that's probably one of the hardest things that I've found so far is working with other tutors and trying to replicate what I do day to day,
Mm.
for them to do it as well.
Do you follow or listen to Gary V much?
No, I actually I have. That's a lie. I have listened to him
Okay.
a couple of times on YouTube. Yeah.
There's something which completely changed the way I was going to think about bringing people in, and then I had a bit of reality check about 2 months ago, which I'll share. Gary V or Gary Vaynerchuk, if you want to go and search for him, he's not for everybody. So go and have a listen to him. If he's not for you, then find someone else. But he says, as a leader of a business, you cannot expect people to work as hard as you.
Yeah.
And I because and good bosses will understand that. And then you treat people well along the way. Like there's lots that he does. And then I hired a tutor for the first time, like I'd say properly, back in September. And it didn't work out the way I wanted. And there was nothing really that they did. It was my mindset around my expectation. There's still a level of expectation. Like I still want people to teach in the right way. And I suppose in my naivety, because my mindset is still like, I still want to provide the best learning experience for the children and young people who come in, regardless of how much. Let's say I offered a group and it was £20 an hour, and I only had one person come in. I'm only earning £20 an hour. It doesn't matter. Like that person's still going to walk away with like the best session they've ever had. In my mind, that's the way I set up. I didn't get that from that particular tutor. Like it was very much the case, if I've been here for an hour, can you pay me now? Like that type of thing. Now, then the reality check was a couple of months ago. Someone I've worked with quite a lot, and I tutored their children a few years ago. I was like, look, I really need to find someone to come in to do cover. There's times when I'm out of the business. I need someone to come in. You're amazing with the kids. Just would you be up for it? She was like chomping at the bit. It's like, yeah, of course. I've been waiting for you to ask me. And I was chatting to her about it, and she was like, well, of course it's about the money. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, like we love working with children, but it's your business. You have a different take on it. And I was like, I'd kind of forgotten that. And so it's my job to make sure that people, yeah, of course it's about the money, but they still align their values with the values of the business. Like the value, this is what we do at Mr. C's Tutoring. This is how we do it because, and I hadn't done that up front with that person, so something could slip through the net. And I'm still going to caveat, he was still a very, very good tutor. Like he did a good job. But we just didn't have enough hours for him to make it worth his while, which was a shame. And so it was a bit of a reality check for me. And lessons learned, right? That's business. So or just life in general. We learn along the way, and it's not going to stop me from trying again. That's the big thing. But yeah, I think Gary V, like I love listening to him. The other guy is Ed Milet. I don't know if you've listened to Ed Milet much.
No.
Go and get involved, mate. You'd love him. He's just so insightful. He does about 3 podcasts a week, but there's one that releases on a Thursday, which is just him talking about life and business and just general rules to live your life by, but particularly if you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneurial thinker. I know not many of us would think ourselves as entrepreneurial, or perhaps we're at the early stages of our entrepreneurial journey. There's so many golden nuggets. Like I can't wait for Thursdays to roll around to listen to it. It's just amazing. And then all your usual ones, I'd say that I've probably spoken about before, like you Diary of a CEO is decent level. And that I'm gonna like we'll wind it up a little bit here. And I just want to say that when you're starting out, like listening to podcasts, whether it's this one, whether it's any of the others, it's such a good way to start and gain knowledge for a small investment of time. It doesn't cost you any money. And if you want to learn from people from first-hand experience, you do have a choice. You can either this is what I did. It's probably what you did as well, Josh. It's like you go and look at, well, what can I do for free? Free challenges, podcast, books. Just go and consume as much as you can. They will take you to a certain point. and hopefully to the point, and my whole role in this is that I would love for the big group, the Grow Your Tutoring Business group, to be your first port of call, or to this podcast to be your first port of call, so you can start making money. When you start making money, when you really want to go to the next level, go and seek out some support. Go and sign into courses that you have invested in, because as soon as you start investing in yourself, that's where the magic really happens.
Yeah, yeah. And that's I really like the Facebook group and the community that you've built as well, obviously.
Thank you.
Because tutoring can be a lonely business.
Yeah.
It can be. But yeah, if you seek out guidance, support with podcasts, or signing up to courses, I do feel that they really do help with your own personal development. And but although we've spoken a lot about my work ethic, I do feel I've got a much better balance now, in a sense of I take a day off now, which is quite nice. And I'll go to the sauna and I'll do a cold dip, and I'll
Oh.
the mental. I know my dad can't believe me, like, going in the water here is absolutely freezing, but I do think there's a lot behind the well-being side of it too, and mental health. And I've started to do much more of that now, in the sense of going on like sound baths and breathing courses and things like that, because I do think that it's important. It's important to make sure that your own mental health is there as well.
Josh, I am excited to hear what's next for you. So I think I always say this with particularly people at the beginning of their business, that you've shared so many golden nuggets today. There's so much to take from it. Like me personally as well, like from being a primary tutor, like it's just so, I suppose, positive to hear that the international market is something we could definitely get into. But I think putting even those golden nuggets aside, I'm excited to see where your business goes to next, because you have a work ethic that's going to take you to achieve your goals that you set out, like no doubt. And even playing a small role in that is really like heartwarming for me. So let's get back together soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's
And
a small. I wouldn't say it's a small role, definitely not.
uh,
But yeah, I do think that being on your course and Jane's course too has really helped me in my own personal development as well. And yeah, if there's any tutor that is listening to this, and they're at the start of their journey, I would definitely recommend doing course. Not just say, oh, you have to do Richards, but
yeah,
look at other courses, and
yeah.
there's other ways that you can work on your own professional development. That's the main thing. And try and keep up with the changes, the ever changing world of education.
Yeah, and business. I mean, look, it's the goalposts change all the time. We're in a really weird place, particularly in the UK at the moment, with cost of living crisis, most likely a change of government with a different direction. Who knows what the next 2 to 3 years is gonna throw at us, and what it's gonna be like. And I'd like everybody to have that adaptability. And again, like you said, and I say this to people as well, like, even though obviously I'm biased towards our courses, it's not the only option. Yeah, there are other things. If you don't quite vibe with it, there are other ways to do it. And I think we always come from that angle of let's be authentic about it. We know it's not going to be for everybody, but we really appreciate your kind words. Absolutely, we'll take them and we'll bank them away. Josh, thank you so much for your time today.
No
This
problem.
won't be the last time that we work together. I've got plans to share more of what you are doing, and to share your expertise and growing expertise as well. So yeah, stay posted, everybody. Josh, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard.